Good morning. I'll give you a slightly different perspective on sort of the offshore crisis. My name is Neeraj Gupta, and I've been part of the IT services industry for probably a lot less time than most of you here, so bear with me as I go through my perspectives. Worked for Patni Computer Systems, part of the management team there. Joined the company about 2 years ago. Came through an acquisition that the company made. Was based in San Francisco. Ran a small telecoms operator-focused IT services play. We wrote some billing software and customer care software. And over the years, as the companies are going up the value chain, the most misused, I guess, term in our offshore industry, going up the value chain, we became a part of a larger global delivery organization. So I'll give you a perspective coming into a large global delivery organization, having brought in sort of a market perspective that is very focused on a specific industry. Well, one view is that the critics are actually right. The critics are right about the offshore industry actually at some crossroads today, and that there are some fundamental challenges that we face as an industry. We sit in the executive room at Patni, and I'm sure it's not unlike a variety of other executive boards here in India. And the kinds of things we worry about, outside of looking at our P&L, which generally looks very good, are what are the things that are going to hit us from the side and change the dynamics of our industry. So I'm the new kid on the block, and I'm allowed to think a little bit outside the box as far as what are the kinds of things that can potentially change the dynamics in our industry. We've got high attrition. We've got wage inflation taking place. Our customers are telling us that our quality of service is not as good as it used to be. You heard Samantha talk briefly about that. We are smoking a drug, if that's the right term to use, because we like to go into programs where there's lots of resources used. We don't like programs where there's fewer resources that are used that can get lots, that can achieve a lot in small teams. We like to have thousands of people. BT has, 10,000 people at one of the operators currently, one of the service providers here in India currently. The question to be asked is, why does it take 10,000 people to deliver that piece of work? Right. There's folks sitting in San Francisco currently writing similar types of software for another operator that's come in with disruptive technology or disruptive business model, and that's Virgin Mobile, with 300 people writing customer care software and billing software, running a complete back office while they acquire the network operations from Sprint in the US. Now, I'm sure the folks at BT will give me lots of arguments why it takes 10,000 people to do the same work, but we look at this and we sort of unbundle the whole technology stack, look at all of the efforts that go into running IT, and many a times what we find is that the industry is changing quite rapidly. The industry is changing because you have rich internet applications being developed. You have those folks sitting at Adobe and Google, while we sit here in Mumbai and look at our wonderful P&L statements that are writing wonderful, software tools and code that is going to enable writing a software for the next generation in better and faster ways. So that's the kind of stuff our industry needs to be thinking about a lot more. We look at our operating mechanics in our business, and the nature of our business is we start hiring a lot of people for campuses at the beginning of the year. For all of you that are part of the vendor organizations here, you know how our business runs with pyramids. There's pyramid ratios that we look at. We look at numbers of people below a certain level and numbers of people above a certain level. And through the year, as wage inflation takes place, our job is to ensure that we are acquiring lots and lots of resources at the bottom of the pyramid, ensuring that they can be trained really fast and expecting that we can deliver a quality of service with lots of junior people. Now, obviously, we've figured out processes. We've figured out a mechanism to train these folks. We've built lots of software factories. A lot of the good things have been done. But the things that we have to worry about are does the mechanics of the business change, where the customer begins to look at requiring more senior staff, possibly with rich internet, Web 2.0 types of tools that are available, and fewer people with sharper skills can deliver the same that is delivered by lots more people. We also have a challenge in how we integrate and create leadership teams that are global in nature. We have leadership teams that are very operating skills focused, that that are focused on delivering technology from India. And then there's market teams that are focused on driving the focused attention on specific industries. So a lot of us have verticalized our business models. We've put small veneers of teams that are industry marketing teams and industry business analyst teams. Behind that, we do a lot of technology work out of India. And one of the key challenges the industry faces in the process of going up the value chain is, how does all of this integrate? How do we create management cultures where we are able to integrate our offshore delivery teams and our managers that work in a relatively hierarchical software factory operation with a somewhat freewheeling consulting mindset and culture in the US or in other parts of the world? And these are the kinds of challenges that the industry is facing. And you think about from a vendor's perspective, what are the kinds of things we're going to need to worry about as we go into the next generation? Now, you might argue that I'm making a statement here that the models of organization like the Big Four, the IBMs and the Accenture address these issues in a better way. That's not really the argument I'm making. The challenge that the Big Four consulting companies face is that they've built their pyramids in a partner culture where the partners still control a lot of the elements of how customers are served in the local markets. And they're trying to integrate that partner culture within offshore delivery centers. And a lot of times there's contracts within the firm of how onshore work gets done and offshore work gets done. And all of us who have been part of this industry long enough, many a times the primary challenge is, how do you actually meld teams? How do you build the right culture? How do you get people to work together to deliver under an integrated service delivery platform, service to the customer? So all of us in the industry are looking at this business in slightly different ways. The folks that are based here in India are looking to go up the value chain. Again, something that you've probably heard a lot here in the conference. And the folks that are traditionally coming from a Big Four consulting background are looking at evolving this model and integrating the offshore centers in a better way. We're looking at this industry, especially the India-based operators or the India-based service providers, traditionally as as an offshore industry. Increasingly, we are now shifting gears and saying, well, this is no longer an offshore industry. It is an industry that's an $800 billion, $900 billion industry. It's a global industry. There's globalization taking place. And fundamentally, the effects of globalization in the IT industry is what we are really serving. And it's the perspective of the vendor that changes the way you operate your business. If you believe that you are in the offshore business, then you really focus on cost optimization. If you believe that you are in the business of transforming IT, in the business of globalized IT, then the mechanics that you use to develop your organizations to service customers is very different. Customer relationship management becomes very important. Building domain expertise becomes important. The focus on industry markets and the focus on really understanding what the customer needs and what's the value of systems we build and technologies we build to serve the customer becomes lots more important. I'd like to suggest that we as an industry really focus more on understanding the business of the customer. How do we create a competitive edge for the customer? We know the economic model works. We know that there is a lot of power in the global delivery model. And it's no longer about India. It's the global delivery model that was talked about previously by Bob in the context of how the delivery model is evolving across the world, going to different countries. But it's the power of the economics of the model that gives us the ability to innovate. We have a window of opportunity. We run our business at twice the margins as most of our counterparts in the global services business. And the focus for us is, how do we leverage the value that we get out of the extra profit margins that we make and invest that in innovation? How do we invest that quickly in building a stronger customer management team? How do we build that in building stronger domain teams that focus on developing the capabilities in creating specific competitive advantage in specific industries?